everyone, Eloise here for Craftie Cafe, and today I have a Father's Day card to share with you all. So Father's Day is in September in Australia, so the team is making a ton of Father's Day cards to share with you guys to get you inspired. Today I'm going to be using a ton of tailored expressions, stamps and dies. So I'm using the My Superhero stamp set, the pinhole star stacklets dies, as well as the downtown border dies as well. I'm using the plain border one and also the underlay. The underlay one is really handy to have because you can cut that out of a different colour of cardstock and have that colour peeking through all of the little holes that the downtown border creates. So to begin, I'm going to start off with stamping out my little superhero. I'm only going to be using the one on the left, and I'm going to start out with using some reds to colour in his little face, mask, the cape, and also the little belt. So I started off with R89 and now moving on to R27, and then I'm blending it all together with R24, and I'm working darkest to lightest with colours I'm very familiar with so I get a nice blend. And so once I've finished up the cape and the belt, I'm then going to move on to the hair. So for the hair, I'm using some sort of orangey colours, I suppose. So I'm first starting off with YR27, and I'm just going in with the darkest first, and then I'm coming in with YR23 and I'm sort of blending that out further into the rest of his hair. And I'm not good at shading hair whatsoever, so I'm just doing what I think looks good, but I'm pretty sure there's obviously better ways to colour hair than I do, so then I just use YR21 for the lightest shade. So once I've finished colouring his hair, I'm going to move on to his little outfit. So I'm using some Bs for this, so I'm using B29 for my darkest shade and just going in where I think there would be shadows, and then I'm going in with B26 and just blending that colour out a little bit further. And then for my last shade, I'm going to be using B24 just to completely colour in the entire image. And I love these three colours together, even though like numerically they are supposed to go together. I just really love this shade of blue for superhero outfits, so that looks really fun. And then I'm going to go ahead and colour in his skin. So for the skin, I'm just going to my favourite trio for the skin. So I'm using E21 and I'm just going in where I think the darkest areas would be. Then I'm pulling in E00 and blending that out further. And then for my last shade, I'm going to be using E000. And so these colours I find again just blend really well together. They're not too light and they're not too dark. So that works out really well. And then for the couple of other little accents, I'm just going to use some R30 for the mouth, and then I'm just going to pull in some yellows for the little centre of the belt. So I'm using Y19, Y13 and Y11 for that. And then I'm going to use the coordinating dies that come actually with the stamp set to cut it out. So now I've pulled out some black cardstock, and any black cardstock will do here, just whatever is your preference of cardstock. And I'm going to run through this little downtown border die set first. So I've ran that through and cut that out. And then I'm using some Tim Holtz watercolour cardstock and some mustard seed distress ink, and I'm just going to blend on this yellow. So I'm just blending in this yellow like darkest at the bottom and then going lighter at the top, and this is just for the underlay image or die, sorry, that coordinates with the border, the downtown border image. So you can see here that I've coloured that in yellow, so then when you lay the darker piece on top, you get sort of like the yellow lights shining through, and I just think that looks really neat. So now I'm moving back on to using mustard seed distress ink once again, and I'm just going to ink blend this entire piece, or just a portion of this watercolour paper piece yellow, and this is going to be for the star. Now I chose to go with the largest star here to die cut this out. I should have probably gone one smaller, but in my head I really wanted it to be like the focal point on the card, and I was going to stitch through the holes. But I'm in the process of moving, and so at the time of making this video I didn't have many supplies out, so I didn't have any thread, and since I've been pumping to get things done, I couldn't, go to the store and buy any or anything like that, so I just ended up just adhering it to some white cardstock. So now that I have die cut that star out, I'm moving on to the background. So I just worked with black soot, then chipped sapphire, and then I'm also pulling out blueprint sketch, and then I'm blending this all together. So I started off with the black soot at the top, then moved on to chipped sapphire, and then moved on to blueprint sketch at the bottom, and this creates the perfect night sky. And I didn't go all the way to the bottom because I didn't feel it necessary, since the border die will cover that. And then I just flicked on some white paint from Mr. Huey's and Studio Calico. So now I'm going to go ahead and adhere this little border piece down onto the yellow, and I just really love how this layers up together. It's super fun. I mean, you could definitely just stick it onto like a background of yellow, but then you'd have to cut all in between the buildings, and it would just be a bit of a pain. So I'm so glad that they offer the underlay die here as well. So now that that's all adhered together, I'm going to go ahead and add some foam tape all onto the back of this piece. So I'm just cutting down strips of this 3M foam tape all on the back for the back of the buildings, and then I'm going to adhere it down onto my card. And so you can see here that it won't matter that I didn't colour that piece completely, because this is just going to cover it up perfectly. So now that I've gone ahead and stuck that down, I'm also going to stick down the star in the center there, and that's why I probably should have used the smaller one, since this one was quite big, but it doesn't really matter. I think it still fits quite well. So then I'm going to go ahead and stick my little superhero on top, and so I'm just going to remove some of the foam tape that I added on the bottom, since I wanted his foot to go over the building and it wouldn't fit too easily, so I decided to fix that up a little bit there. Then I've just white heat embossed You're My Superhero sentiment onto this blue piece of cardstock, this navy cardstock, and now I'm going to use the Blueprints 27 dies by My Favorite Things just for the little banner here, and I'm going to die cut that out. So you can see that this banner die is longer, but I just cut it out first and then just partially run back through the other side to create the other side that has a border as a little fishtail banner as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this down with some foam tape onto the top of the star there. And then to completely finish off this card, I'm just going to adhere the this panel onto the background. So I'm going to cut a black piece of cardstock, adhere it to a white card base, and then use fun foam to adhere the whole panel onto the background. So this is a super fun card. I think definitely, the You're My Superhero sentiment can be used for a Father's Day card as well. So I didn't specifically use Father's Day products for this card, but I think it turned out really great. So thanks so much for watching. All of the supplies will be listed down below and also at the blog, and I will catch you all next time. Thanks so much for watching.